Hello everybody, my name is InspirAspir, and today I will be showing you guys how to assign a MIDI light effect, such as this, to the touch of a button on your Launchpad. So in order to do this, you will need Max for Live, because we will be using Exige's new Midi Extension device, and in order to get that to work, you need Max for Live. Now, if you don't know what that is, or you don't have it on your computer yet, I'll put up a video right here in the middle, and you can click the link, you can click on that video. It will take you to a video I made a while ago explaining how to install it and then get it to work properly. So we're assuming that we did that right, we installed it, it's on our computer, we're good to go. So right now I created a little Ableton session that could easily explain how to make this device to work. The first track you see here, this green one right here, that's where I'm going to show you guys how to make it. And then the second one is I'll be using for the actual light effects, the MIDI effects. I'll explain later why I made that separately. And then this third one is the one I'm currently actually using when I'm pressing this button to show you guys, just because I wanted a demo there, so you know what we're going to be ultimately creating. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Again, you need Max for Live in order to get this to work. And you need to have the extension device installed and all the folders in the right places. And like I said, you can click that video earlier. That will explain how to do that properly. So once you've done that, you're going to want to create a MIDI track. You can right click over here on the right on Ableton and insert MIDI track. And I already did that here. I called it Trigger. So I have my MIDI track, and then I set my outputs to my Launchpad. So for me, it's my Launchpad Pro. I turned it to channel 6, and then I'm going to hit this recording arm, and that's pretty important. You need to make sure that this far right square with the little circle on it and the music note inside of it, you need to make sure that's clicked and it's red. And that enables the recording arm, which sends and receives the MIDI output. So now we're going to go into Midi Effects over here on your left in Ableton. We're going to click here, and then we're going to look in this this little folder that came up, or this little window, and we're going to drag and drop our MIDI effect rack. So I'm going to drag and drop it. You can either drop it onto this track, or you can go down here to this bottom. You see a blue bar lit up right here when I hovered over here. Either one works. You can click and drag on top of this or down here. Both will work. So now I have my MIDI effect rack down here, and that's currently in this MIDI track, the green one I made, called Trigger. And you can verify that by double clicking on your MIDI tracks to see what is inside of them. So this is the MIDI track we're working with, right? And I just dragged my MIDI effect rack, and you can see it down here. I'm going to go ahead and click this middle button on the left to expand this window out, just because we'll need this later. So make sure that that's yellow. It was black. Click it and it turns yellow, and that expands the window. So now we're going to go into our MIDI extension folder, which I have over here. If you don't know how to do this, you can click Add Folder, and then you can sort through your folders on your computer to find the folders that you use for your MIDI extension device. Again, if you don't know how to do that, I explained it in the one video how to install it. So these folders should be in place. If not, you can just go to your Finder, and then you can actually find those folders and then manually drag and drop what you need. But we're going to go and we're going to drag and drop our MIDI extension master device. This is the device that basically tells your MIDI track that we will be using the extension device. So this has to be within your MIDI track. And it's recommended that you drag and drop it before your MIDI effect rack. So I'll just undo that so you can see what I did. You just drag and drop in front of it. You see how this blue bar is to the left of the MIDI effect rack, as opposed to behind it. Honestly, I don't think it makes a difference. I really don't, but This is just what I like to do, and I know it works, so you might as well keep it. So now we're going to go ahead and we have our MIDI extension right here, the one below. Now this is the one that actually lets you drop in a MIDI clip, and that's what gets you the light effect that you need. So we're going to drag and drop that over here where it says drop MIDI effects. And so now you see we have this MIDI extension right here. And we're going to go ahead and click this, the far left rectangle that says key, and that opens up like a horizontal piano roll. It's like you see these pianos ranging from different notes. And again, make sure that our MIDI track is armed. That's important. And then now we're gonna go to our Launchpad, and we're gonna pick any note. This is the part where you can pick whatever one you want. Let's say I want to match with the final one. I'm going to use this bottom left note, the C one. So I'm clicking it right now, and as I press it, you can see that on this piano roll it lights up red. And so it's basically telling you that this is the note, this is the key that corresponds to this bottom left button that I'm pressing. And so I'm going to go and see this big green bar that shows up right here. I'm going to go to the very far left part, and you can see my cursor turns into a bracket. And I'm going to click and drag until it says C1. And I'm going to do the same on the very far right side until it turns into a right bracket. Click and drag until it says C1. And basically what this is doing is I just made a chain right here that will only work on this button. Now you can do this, you know, for multiple buttons if you want the same effect to work up until, you know, however many. But I'm just gonna have it, my little green bar only be on one button. And so now I'm gonna go ahead and I made a different MIDI track where I'm actually gonna make my light effects. And so I'm gonna make a new MIDI clip by dragging and dropping, right-clicking and pressing Insert MIDI Clip. And again, this one has all of my output settings correct and everything. I'm gonna hit the recording arm so I know that I'm working with this right now, and I'm just gonna go ahead and make a light effect. At this point, I can make it as easy as I want or as complex as I want. I don't know, I can do something like this, I guess. And I'll just make a real quick effect right here, so stay tuned. Probably fast forward through this. Okay, so I'm back. I made my effect. Looks like this. Just, that's how I made my MIDI effect. And I'm going to actually change this color to 127. And if you don't know how to change colors and stuff, I have a tutorial video. You can check that out. I'm gonna assume you know how to make MIDI light effects because I have so many videos out there. If you don't, you can check them out. So I'm gonna leave the color at 127, and I'll explain that later. Yeah, I'll explain that later. So I have this light effect right here. That's cool. So now I'm going to right-click and hit Export MIDI Clip. And then I'm going to go navigate through my computer to find the one folder, my MIDI Ext folder. And then if you're creating a new project, you want to hit New Folder, and then, you know, name it whatever, your project folder or whatever. But don't, I shouldn't have done that. Don't include spaces. You can't have spaces in the name. So do something like this, or maybe underscores, but don't have any spaces, any white spaces within your name. So you're going to want to make a new folder. I already did that here with my MIDI demo. So that's what that is. So I'm going to go to that folder, name my file. Again, no white spaces. Save it as example 2, because I already have an example 1 in here, but example 2, name it as whatever you want, and then hit save. So now I'm going to go to my MIDI Ext folder over here, and then you can see your different projects. And you're going to want to go to the folder you just created, which is mine is the MIDI demo. And then, as you can see, I have my EX2, my example 2, right here. So now we're going to go back to our MIDI clip that we created, or our MIDI track, sorry, with our the one that we will be triggering our sample with. And I'm going to go ahead and all I have to do is, now that this MIDI extension is in here, I can drag and drop this example 2 into this MIDI button. And as you can see, I'm pushing this button, and my MIDI clip is now activating. And that's cool. One thing to consider is that the default BPM is 120 for these MIDI extension devices, because that's what the default in Ableton is. But if you change the BPM, then it won't be consistent with that. So in order to speed up or slow down your clip, this top one, the clip tempo, changes the BPM of the actual clip itself. So like, it was 120 before, and now you're telling it it will be, 20 or whatever, and this will come up as faster because your new tempo is 120, which is, 6 times as fast. So it's gonna be very fast. So that's what this is. It changes the speed of your clip. But this one actually, the new tempo, is what changes it in respect to this. It's a bit confusing. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I would recommend leaving the clip tempo as is. There's no real reason to mess with that. But then, if you're, triggering this to a sample or something and it doesn't quite sync up with it, then I would recommend changing this new tempo. And that will, the faster the number, it will make it a faster speed, and the lower the number will make it a slower effect. So there you go. That's all you really have. You can, right-click, create a new chain, and then assign a different button. Let's say this top right for no real reason, but you can select only this button. Go to your MIDI extension, drag and drop your MIDI extension. Make a MIDI clip, add whatever lights you want. Let's pretend I did that right here with this one. And then right-click, export MIDI clip, and then save it within your project folder. Make sure there are no spaces. And also, I'm pretty sure that if you have folders within folders, it won't work. Because I've made projects before, and I was prone to add different, sections. Like maybe I'll make like a drop part, and I'll put all my lights for the drop in here, and then my intro lights I'll put in here. But I'm pretty sure if you do that, it glitches out. So I would recommend just putting it all of your MIDI clips in as is. Don't try to do folders within folders. So now you have your MIDI clips in here, and then you can drag and drop onto your MIDI extension, and then you can press the button accordingly, and it will make these. These are effects I made earlier, again. Like, maybe I want to make a rainbow wave that works on every button except for these two. That's what basically this green bar says. Drag and drop my MIDI extension. I made my rainbow. Right click, export, and then go and pick your corresponding MIDI clip. Oh, I'm sorry, that was one I made earlier. That was just as a demo. So I need to right click, export, call this rainbow. I'm in my folder, hit save, and then I can drag rainbow onto here, and now it works. Right, okay, so this reminds me. The MIDI clips are very useful for making, effects like this where there's different colors or multiple things happening at once. That's probably why it's a bit better than using the default MIDI effects as your, ways of making lights. But earlier I told you to make your light effect at velocity of 127. I forgot about that. That's because if it's at 127 and then you go into your Midi Effects and then go to Velocity, drag and drop behind your Midi extension or before. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter necessarily. I don't know why I didn't do that. Alright, so you have to, yeah, like that. Then you can change the color to whatever you want, like maybe a red, which is 5, and it'll change the colors. Or maybe a purple, which is 49. Or a green, which is 21. Only if your MIDI clip itself, if the colors are 127, then you can change this velocity to whatever color you want, which is useful. I'm just going to delete that real quick. Which is useful if you just want to copy and paste this, move this effect to the one button up, and then change the color slightly, and then copy and paste it, move it to the button up, slightly change the color, copy paste, etc., etc. And then what this ultimately does is you can have the same effect over and over. Oh, right, so that's another problem I've noticed. When you copy and paste, it keeps your MIDI clip for the latest copied one, but it deletes the MIDI clip itself from the older ones. So you'd have to go through and actually, I used example 2. You have to go through and manually drag and drop. I'm not sure if there's an easier way to do it, to be honest. But anyways, what I just did was I made it so that this one has a nice green, and then it should be the same effect on the button over with a different color, different color, different color. That's basically all I did here. So now that you have all these in, you can go to your extension device and you can hit save, and you can save it as whatever you want, maybe preset demo, and then you hit save, and make sure it's within that same folder that all of your MIDI effects are in, and also make sure that there are no spaces within your name of the preset. So then you hit save, and then that's all that is. And now what most people don't get is that's all you have to do. You don't have to, you just make sure you hit save. If you add any changes, make sure you hit save. And then I'm going to save my Ableton session as, demo or whatever. And then anytime you start a new live set, or I mean, you don't need to start a new live set, but if you close Ableton, the point is, and then you reopen your same project folder, your project file, if you go to your MIDI track, you'll notice all of your MIDI effects are gone. And if you've placed, 100 light effects or 1,000 or whatever, then it'd be such a pain to go through manually and drag and drop. So this is now when you hit load, and then you go to your MIDI extension folder, go to your project file, and you find the one that you just saved, the preset demo. Now you'll notice everything is in place. And I can play with everything like I had. And it's still working. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that should get the main point across. Again, you just want to set it up like I did. You just make your MIDI clips, you export them, put it in the folder, and then place them within your MIDI extension here. You can change the speeds by bumping up the new tempo, BPM, or you can slow it down by decreasing it. And if your MIDI clip is 127 velocity, then you can just add a velocity from this MIDI effect folder, and then you can change the color at ease just by copying and pasting. And that's really all there is. So thank you for watching. I know this was a really long video. I'm really sorry. I rambled a lot, but I hope you guys enjoyed it still. I try to be thorough for the people who didn't quite understand this concept, because I feel like you either get it or you don't, and the people who don't get it, I understand it takes some thorough explaining, because this stuff can be complicated. If you miss a single step, it kind of glitches out on you. So I hope it was helpful. I'm back from finals. I'm home for summer, so hopefully I'll be able to pump out some more videos for you guys soon, more than I had been previously. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. See ya.